I want to bring in Caroline Glick now, senior contributing editor of the Jewish News Syndicate. She joins me now from Jerusalem. My first question for you here, if you can kind of give us a feel for what it's like on the ground, how are people in Israel feeling about this first hostage release?
There's a bittersweet feeling that we're looking forward to seeing some of the hostages, particularly the children, the small children, coming home with their moms, if that actually happens. But there's an enormous amount of apprehension because Hamas is just playing with us. I mean, the 24-hour delay is a form of torture, and this is what Hamas does because it's a sadistic, genocidal terrorist organization. And so, there's a sense that we've all become hostages because of these negotiations, that Hamas gets to decide everything and dictate everything, the terms of the agreement, when they're going to be released. We're supposed to end our hostilities 7 hours before anybody comes out. I mean, it all just seems very, very negative from a strategic perspective. And we're being humiliated as people, which also is very bad. So there's a sense of relief, limited relief, because hopefully the children will be taken away from these monsters, but so many others are going to remain behind, even if the deal is fully implemented. And then there's the other fear that, we're losing our momentum just as we're about to complete our takeover of northern Gaza, and we were beginning our offensive in southern Gaza. And everything has just been halted because of the negotiations and now the anticipation of cessation of hostilities for a number of days. So there's a sense of apprehension, foreboding, humiliation, mixed with a bittersweet sense of relief that hopefully at least we'll get our babies back.
Yeah, it certainly seems like, there is an understandable skepticism, but at the same time, it feels as though the ball is sort of in Hamas's court right now.
Well, I mean, Israel's Achilles heel is that we care about human life. We love our people and we want them home and we want them safe. But we recognize that to bring home the hostages in this way, anyway, rather than through victory and war, we're endangering the country itself. Because if they could take 240 Israelis and survive intact or in any way in Gaza, and if we're not going to defeat them, which is the biggest fear, then what's to stop Hezbollah tomorrow from seizing an entire city in Israel and keeping everybody hostage? I mean, it's an existential threat to Israel. These hostage takings have become an existential threat, not simply a humanitarian disaster. So there's a lot of apprehension here, a lot of opposition to the deal, particularly among the soldiers in the field who recognize how harmful it is to our operations on the ground. But like I said, there's our Achilles heel is that we care about our people, and we know who is being held hostage. It's harder to place a name on the people who will be taken hostage as a result of a capitulation to Hamas.
Yeah. How fragile is this deal? How difficult do you expect it to be to pull off?
I think it'll be very difficult because Hamas has no credibility. Look what they did, and they're just humiliating us. An hour after the prime minister, defense minister, and minister without portfolio, the three voting members of the war cabinet, gave a press conference last night and said that, the deal was going to be implemented today. Hamas said, up, nope, we didn't agree to it. And lo and behold, we all got whiplash and found out that we were going to be waiting. So that's a form of psychological warfare. Everything that Hamas does is a form of psychological warfare, and it's also very sadistic. So we have to defeat them. We have to. I mean, we have no other choice. But they keep putting a spanner in the works because they're holding our hostages.
I want to talk about these hostages. We've been sharing some of their personal stories here on NewsNation. What do we know about the 50 Israeli hostages who will be released?
Well, their names haven't been released. What we know is that all of the children are going to be under 19 years old. We know that they're going to be releasing family groups, but not all of the relatives, so that the names that we initially received yesterday, whether they're completely accurate or not, involved keeping fathers or older siblings or mothers in Hamas captivity and letting out some of the children, one of the parents, none of the parents, whatever it happens to be, so that even after these hostages are rescued and brought home, they're going to be hostages. So they're not going to be free to speak. They're not going to be free to to do anything because their loved ones are still being held by these sadistic monsters. So the idea is very nefarious, and it's very cruel, just like everything that Hamas does.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.